In the 21st century, technology has advanced rapidly, with new inventions and devices coming into everyday life. Across the world, universities have embraced this technology as a standard for communication. Whether they are enrolled in open learning courses or just accessing their student email, communications technology is consistently present in student life. But does technology really improve communication on campus? We decided to investigate. 100 different students participated in a short survey that we conducted to learn more about this topic. As part of this survey, we discovered that nearly 95% of the students were carrying a smartphone on them at the time of the survey. This indicates that communications technology plays a very regular part in student everyday lives. Our study also revealed that a significant portion of students' days are spent communicating with others through their cell phones. More than 50% of the respondents to our surveys indicated that more than 3 hours were spent every day communicating with others through their cell phones. Less than 15%, however, indicated that they spent less than 1 hour communicating through their cell phones. To our surprise, more than 25% of the respondents that participated in our survey indicated that they also carry additional communications technology with them on a day-to-day basis. Overwhelmingly, more than 70% of the respondents to our survey indicated that they do think technology is improving communication between people. However, nearly 20% of students that participated in the survey were not certain about that. When we asked students why they carried their cell phones on them, many suggested that it was for standard uses, such as playing games, accessing the internet, emailing others, texting, taking photos or videos, listening to music, taking notes, or even for emergency calls. Others said that it was an addiction that caused them to keep the phone on them, and one person even indicated that the phone is smarter than we are. Most students, however, simply used it as a means to connect with family, friends, and others. Some students who took part in our survey expressed doubt that communications technology can be used to improve communication between people. Some students indicated that it was difficult to concentrate in class if they had their smartphone on them, while others thought that communications through text can be easily misunderstood, and that online activities like social media reduce the amount of time spent communicating with others one-on-one. They suggest that we need to limit ourselves on the amount we communicate through technology. Other students attribute this fear of technology to a growing generation gap. Technology, as these students say, is the way of the future. One thing is for certain, however, technology is changing the way we communicate. We spoke with 2 instructors to get a teacher's perspective on the way communications technology impacts student life. First, we spoke with Kevin O'Neill, a computer science professor here at Thompson Rivers University, who deals with current technology regularly in his education practice.
Since you're a professor in computer science department, so what interests you in computer science?
Oh, I like to build. I like to make things happen. I like programming. It's just fun for me.
Okay, so that's kind of like computer science is part of the technology, and it's being improved a lot. And for communication wise, like how do you feel that technology has impacted the way our generation or your students communicate with each other?
Oh, you've gone back in time. Students talk about texting as being new, but it's not a new technology. There was text-based paging in the early 1970s. The input device to it is slightly different. You'd make a phone call and leave a text message for somebody, but the technology is very, very similar to that. So the only difference really is the ability that you have a keyboard tied to that technology, but the ability to send text messages was available in the 1970s.
Wow, I never know that. So basically, with that technology back then, do you think people uses a lot of it, or
it's not as convenient as now? You used it as now people use it slightly differently in that they use it and they answer right away. In that time, when you left a text message, there was 2 ways. You could do voice messages or text. Typically text, you would phone in with a regular phone, so you didn't have a mobile phone component to it. And then when you had your pager, you would receive a page, you'd receive the text or receive a phone number to contact. You didn't have the immediate contact.
Oh.
So that side of things is different.
So like, do you feel like the technology are actually, because the technology is changing right now, and do you think the newer technology or newer things can improve the way the communication between you as an instructor and we as a students?
I don't know.
You don't
That
know?
I don't know. It has changed things. Is it making it worse or better? That's a different effect.
Uh-huh.
It's not easy to say things have changed. It's easy to see that you have an effect. Has
Yeah.
things changed?
Yeah.
That's more difficult. I would say that the technology has offered an opportunity for students to be distracted in classes more.
Uh-huh.
It hasn't. So that's not necessarily the technology. That's an
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Those that choose to play in their phones and
Yeah.
stuff, it impacts their knowledge that
Mhm.
way.
But-
But certainly in terms of, from a class perspective,
Yeah.
students are using it to access information online and
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. So there is different ways to look at it. Some classes use surveys and stuff
Uh-huh.
with them, but I'm not doing that in mine. So.
Mhm. Of course.
So like any technology, it's the usage that defines if it's a plus or a minus.
But people can also use it. Maybe they can use it to communicate with their own instructor with, let's say, phones, emails, and
Oh yeah,
all the-
many people use their phone to get to me with email, certainly.
Uh-huh. So that's a plus, right?
Oh no.
Okay. Yeah. So like, so I know that you often use PowerPoints. So do you find it to be convenient for like students and yourself to use in class and outside of class?
We cover so much material
Mhm.
that not being using some predefined method, like a PowerPoint or screens or something, it's not possible because there's so much detail.
Mhm.
I can put them up and then we focus on what are the key points. The example being in our last example,
Mhm.
we've seen the main, it's the same,
Yes.
so we don't need to focus on it.
Yeah.
So what happens is we can put them up and then the focus is around what are the key important parts of it, right?
Okay.
But if I was to put up the file and we wrote it out each time,
Mhm.
there's too much detail to cover, right? Because many files are similar. There's
Yeah.
only one small change. So if I was just to show you the line of code that's different in each example, that doesn't work. It's much better to see the entire example and then just focus the discussion on the key things that are different, right?
Okay. So like for all the changes about the technology wise, do you feel that they are beneficial to us as a whole, or you think it's not necessary
About
for the
the,
change?
no, the changes provide opportunities.
Yeah.
What individual will do with that opportunity is it's up to the individual.
Okay.
Some individuals will use the new technology and it will distract them.
Mm-hmm.
Others will use that new technology and it will give them a learning opportunity. The example would be in a classroom. You can use your technology two ways. I can say something
Yeah.
and you can listen, and some people will do this. They will take and use their technology that's available in the classroom to look something up on that right away.
Yeah.
That can be useful. Others will be sitting beside that person with their technology and they're playing a game or doing some Snapchat at the same time. So the technology that allows me to do both things, it's up to the individual. Do they use it for learning or do they use it for distracting?
So basically, if they are distracted, that means the technology is totally not doing work for.
Well, it's
the
taking away from the
communication.
learning,
Yeah.
but it's not. The technology enables.
Yeah.
All of these technologies enable communication. They enable searching and finding.
Mhm.
It's what you choose to do with it.
Okay.
How the individual uses it determines, is it additive in their classroom or subtractive, right?
So it's basically two-sided.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but all things are, right?
Yeah.
The
yeah.
technology is like that. It provides, it's how you use it.
What do you think students have to be cautious about when using communication technology?
Well, there's two things. One
Yeah.
is security,
Yeah.
and the other is using it effectively in a constructive way, right?
Uh-huh.
Effective and constructive means you're using it to add to your learning.
Yeah.
Destructive would be you're playing a game on your phone.
Ah, okay.
You can do that in your spare time, but you can't necessarily do it in the classroom at the cost, right?
Mhm.
So that's one. The other one is security. Many people post too much stuff.
Post too much stuff.
Online. They just have too much stuff online.
But is it really dangerous?
Yes.
Are there any examples?
Oh, tons of examples, many examples of two classic examples. One is the ability to do identity theft. The more information you have online, the more footprint you have for identity theft.
Yeah.
But there are numerous cases now where people's past history of online social media stuff has been used against them when they're looking for jobs and stuff.
So basically,
So some people you see is the classic example of some university student shows pictures of them at a party in questionable decision making. And the prospective employer can look up the profile and see someone that says, oh wow, that's not the type of professional image we want here. And there are numerous cases in Canada and the US where people have been fired for what they posted online in terms of what they said as well as pictures they've said in their off time.
wow.
So your social image has a huge, because when you post it online, it's there. You're posting it to the world forever.
We also spoke with Amy Tucker, an organizational behavior instructor here at Thompson Rivers University, who's passionate about using social media as an instructional tool.
How often do you use your phone each day to communicate with others?
I would say on average I probably send about 100 text messages per day with family and loved ones. I get about maybe a dozen or so contacts from people that I, see occasionally. And then for telephone, I rarely use the telephone unless it's for making appointments or other professional purposes.
So just okay. And how's that different than when you were a student?
When I was a student many years ago, we did not have cell phone technology, so I was definitely using landline and telephones, and I think phone conversations were a lot longer, and there was definitely the contact would be less frequent, but the quality of that contact increased. So if I called my significant other, it'd be probably once or twice a day longer, whereas now I send 20 text messages of broken sentences and LOL and happy faces.
Okay. And what do you see the differences between when you were a student, like students communicating with each other when you were students and the students nowadays?
So I think when I was a student, if there's any team projects, it would be telephone based or meet face to face to make any arrangements. So that would be a critical piece. I think it's much more easier now with virtual technology, but I think there's a lack of engagement and social relationship. Also, it can be very distracting because I know myself, I've been in meetings or situations and I will be in a virtual conference and people can see my face, but they can't see what I'm doing. And so I could be, making notes or doing something else and I could get easily distracted. So I think there's an illusion that people are engaged virtually, but I also think people also are not really 100% present when they're participating in online activities. I think working on your own has its own challenges. Like if you've ever taken a distance education course, it does require a lot of self-discipline. And I teach 2 online courses and I have seen students really need to be pushed from my end, like emailing them, phoning them, and checking in with them. In the classroom situation, whether people should just focus 100% on the teacher is one thing, but I think technology has some advantages because students can take notes, they can look on Moodle. And if you're a hands-on learner, being able to access that information right now, that's really critical to learning. And then, bookmark it, save it for later. And I think for students, particularly with Moodle, like if you miss a class, you can have, the information there. Phones. I don't mind students, even I get a message sometimes and it'll say, urgent, your son is sick, go pick him up. Totally, I can respond in 2 seconds. And it might be distracting for those 2 seconds, but it's out of the way, it's done. And I know I've told students that, if you need to message someone, let something know, that's fine, but don't sit there for the 45 minutes and text the whole time. So I tell you what I miss. I'm a hands-on learner, very kinesthetic. I want to go through the PowerPoint and take notes. Like I want to write notes right on the PowerPoint as she's speaking. You know what? When she says no computer, so I have to go and print off my notes from Moodle, and I have to go and manually write the notes, and then I have to come back and type. So there's a lack of efficiency there. Plus there's an environmental factor when you're wasting paper. I think the instruction is really individualized. So if you look at it from an organizational behavior context, it depends on the teacher, the situation, the course, and the context, right? So I find for myself, I find students more engaged depending on the subject matter. And I like organizational behavior, it depends on the topic too, right? Some topics are more interesting, some are more boring. So has it changed very much? I think technology, I know some people use clickers, and I know some people use music in the classroom, some people, you know, do different things. Does that engage them? I think it entertains people. So there's this whole new body of literature that talks about edutainment. Edutainment is where you entertain learners. So is it a generational thing, Generation Y? Your generation essentially that wants to be entertained? You know, you guys have a way with technology, you're smart, you want to be entertained. So maybe it's not, teachers haven't changed, school hasn't changed, it's the learner that's changed.
And then that pushed the entire system that has to change.
What's that?
And that pushed the entire system that kind of have to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So one of my favorite videos talks about how technology has changed in just 1 year, and it's a series that every year they talk about how fast technology is changing and we can't keep up. But we're living in an archaic education system that's based on the 1800s model, and it's very traditional. You know, you have your lecturer, you have your books, materials, exams, and then we're integrating all this other stuff, and it's a challenge to balance it all. So technology is definitely going to change education, not just from teaching or learning, but ethical issues as well. So thinking about cheating, for example, or academic plagiarism, or you know, buying your paper from somewhere.
I see. And do you think that because like people can get into your phone pretty much whenever they want, if they really want to, do you think that people have to be cautious about what they're saying in text, or when they're communicating to each other through Facebook or text messages or anything?
I think everyone should be cautionary about over Facebook and internet and telephone. Photos, selfies, like how many people have taken a selfie that, you know, would be questionable, that you wouldn't want your boss to see? And, you know, students are young, you have young people, but also there's confidential information that you're sharing. Yeah, anything is hackable.
I've heard that like when you go to work and then the boss will, well, I don't know if that applied in Canada or not, but like the boss will kind of, some bosses will kind of go over Facebook and search your name and see if there's anything that's inappropriate in it. Or,
yeah, I've seen that too.
And then they will, based on that, they will see if they want to hire you or not.
They will search you out.
Right.
LinkedIn, always. What I always tell students is have an electronic presence online. Whether, because I'm going to Google you if I'm doing a search on you, at least have LinkedIn, a professional image on Facebook, maybe have a Twitter account, show something that you are online, a real professional or fun self, not you at the bar drinking every weekend. But interesting about technology in the workplace, I know a lot of companies ban Facebook and Twitter and social media. They actually have the website set up so that you cannot deviate from company items. So phones, however, I don't know how they would control you using your cell phone.
They might not have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, they might not have Wi-Fi per se, but yeah, there is ways that managers and departments and organizations are controlling that. And it's kind of a balance, right? How much work are you really getting done, or are you just on Facebook all day long playing Candy Crush? And I've had students playing Candy Crush in class, and I have to say that's very distracting.
And okay, last question is: do you feel that overall, is the technology thing beneficial?
Is technology beneficial? That's a good question. For me as an instructor, it has really improved the efficiency of my work. For grading, I can compile grades very quickly and get them to the students. I can communicate with students, broadcast emails, but individually as well. For me, it's really important to build individual relationships with people. You can't do that in a classroom of 40, but through Facebook, through email, and coming into my office, phoning, you build that relationship. So that personal connection is there. But I think if without technology, then the student has to come see you. And when you have 250 students, that's a lot of office hours. And most people don't come see me. Like really, a phone call or an email, they'll definitely do. What else? Technology makes it more entertaining. YouTube videos are more interesting than just listening to the prof talk for an hour. PowerPoint, PowerPoint is good. It's there, it has the message so that if you miss what they're saying, you can actually read it and go back to it later on.
Sometimes you don't have to buy a textbook.
Yeah, or you don't have to buy the textbook. Where I see technology to be an advantage is to find research, like when you're doing research studies or writing a paper, you don't have to go to the library and go get all the books. You can just go online and everything's there. So for a student, that's available. But then what's authentic, what's not is a challenge too. Lots of garbage out there. You really need to know what's credible and what's not. So I really see technology being an advantage. But the downsides, again, is that, distraction and, lack of engagement, or not showing up to class at all and just doing the entire course on Moodle and writing the final, which I've seen done too. So we'll see where the future goes. I'd like to see technology enhance learning, not take it over.
Based on our findings, we've concluded that technology has opened new doors for students and professors, but with these new venues for connecting with friends, family, and peers, there are new challenges for students to face. Communications technology has changed student life forever, but the technology itself is not the threat. It's simply the way we use it.
So, based on the information we presented to you, what do you think? And would you use the technology to communicate just like the way you used before, or would you change it?